Recording. And 3, 2, and 1. Greetings. My name is Karina Holosko, and I am the editor of COVID Rebels Poets 2021. And here with me today, I have one of our most talented poetry and prose writers, Alexandria Faiz. Welcome, Alexandria.
Good afternoon, Kay. It's such a pleasure to join you. It's always a pleasure to have, our conversations are always so fruitful.
And where are you today?
I am in downtown Bridgeport, Connecticut, in the theater district, where there's a lot of independent theaters running and just starting to open up now. And
really?
I have one of the oldest theaters that's been continuously running in the country is right down the block.
Wow. Now tell me something. Where did you grow up?
Bridgeport.
Oh, you did grow up in Bridgeport. Okay.
I grew up in Bridgeport. Yes, a different area. Basically more than northern.
Pause. So you went to school where and when did you decide that writing was going to be your thing?
When I was 5.
Oh,
I wanted to be a writer. You know, basically even I was home taught, beginning part of my education. And I always was creating even little books for myself. I used to use trace paper to create my illustrations. I'm not a drawer. I'm a writer, not a drawer. So I used to do trace paper, create the illustrations, and then basically then write little dialogues more back and forth and stapled it together. That was my little books. I think one of my first books was The Pumpkin Promise, if I remember the title correctly.
Oh, The Pumpkin Promise.
Always.
Well, we'll be looking for that for a children's book. And then you figured you'd have to go to school to do that, or you chose to?
I chose to. I took my bachelor's actually both in writing as well as in biology. At that point, I really was keen on becoming a science journalist.
Okay.
And I just knew that I wanted to always have that expertise in the area I was writing in.
Which comes from, go ahead, I'm sorry. Which comes from your dad, your aeronautical engineer father. So that's where all the expertise in technology.
It's actually mechanical engineer, yep, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
But that would be, go ahead. Okay, we're starting, this is your huge sucks. 3, 2, 1. Hi there, greetings everyone. My name is Karina Holosko, and I am the editor of COVID Rebels Poets 2021. And here I am today in Bridgeport, Connecticut with Alexandria Faiz, one of our most talented poets and prose writers. How are you today, Alexandria?
I am wonderful. It's such a great being here right at the brink of publication of COVID Rebels.
I know.
A dream come true.
And I couldn't have done it without you.
We had a great group that came together organically. They just were attracted to each other like magnets, and we came together perfectly.
Like a little nest of atoms, poetic atoms.
Absolutely. And that's needed. That's absolutely needed, because you have to form a relationship with each person in that group you meet each week.
Yep.
You have to know what their strengths are so you can help them. They get to know where you need to build, and that only comes with time and knowing each person very well.
Well, you are an expert, a diplomat. So, that's all I have to say about that. Alex, where did you go to school?
I've basically went to multiple Catholic schools as a youngster, and then my undergraduate was at Fairfield University, which is a Jesuit college here in Connecticut. I studied English and biology. That was a dual major, because I wanted to pursue science journalism at the time.
Wow.
And that actually did lead to my first job. So it was a good path for me.
And when did you start writing?
I always loved to be a writer. I always knew that was part of me. So when I was 5, I was writing my own little books. I was stapling them together, using tracing paper to do some of the illustrations, and just giving the characters dialogue. I was never satisfied with the books that I got from the library. I always wanted to build the story upon the stories I was reading. So I started with that.
So we might be looking for those in the future publications of those, I hope.
Maybe I have to go. They're in a box somewhere.
Well, Alex, I hear a little bird has told me that you're going to read a short story called The Cure of the Clock. And if you would read that for us today, I would love to hear it.
Thank you. And actually, it is a personal essay. This is a true story. And I'm going to be reading excerpts of it because it shows basically over a history, I would say about 15, maybe even 20 years now. So it's starting from a question that I was trying to answer. And here we go. It started with curiosity. Peeking through the open crack of my grandmother's bedroom door, I watched her converse while holding a string of beads. She spoke first in Flemish, then in French. Without seeing the person she was addressing, I couldn't make sense of the English sentences that followed. She did it every morning. I think she knew about my sneak peeks. Nothing in her apartment was off limits except at those moments. Afterward, I often went through her bedroom because it was the only place where I could get an unobstructed view of the world 15 stories up. Not needing a warning to move carefully, I knew the statue of the woman on her dresser was important. It was the only decoration she had, outside of family pictures and the crocheted dogs she loved to make. Grandma Anna let the statue speak for herself. Little did I know she could. I transferred to a Catholic elementary school and memorized prayers and learned the statue in my grandma's bedroom was the Virgin Mary. Being the narrator during my first nativity play was the extent of my knowledge. Though I said daily in a circle on the floor as New Testament passages were read aloud, I wasn't listening to the Word of God. Higher priorities ruled my attention. Once I learned how to read the hands on the wall clock, I counted down the minutes to recess. How will I be the first one to grab that coveted Sorry board game box? How will I get that cute boy Randy to play with me? When I reached fourth grade, I started to read the Bible at home, though. We had one that my mom picked up from a library book sale since she knew I would need it for homework. Beyond using it to answer questions from my workbook, I liked the feel and sounds as I flipped through its thin, smooth pages. And then there were the stories. A talking serpent, an ark filled with all the animals of the world, walking on water, feeding thousands of people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. It all fascinated me. The chapters were short, the writing vivid, and I had an imagination, so no illustrations were needed. An only child, I spent a lot of time alone. The rural town I then lived in still had dirt roads with houses that were separated a mile apart. About that time, when my parents had to do quick errands, they started to leave me home alone. Since no stores were right around the corner, quick meant at least a couple of hours. I was taught well. Don't play with any dials or any switches. One day, though, their trip was a little bit longer than usual, and all the books lost their usual attraction. A chiming, key-wound mantle clock that was my parents' wedding present became a project. I couldn't reach any of my father's tools, and the kitchen drawers were another forbidden area. Yet, I managed to pry open the back of the clock and fiddled with its gears until it stopped. I nudged the hands on the face of the clock forward and backward. No response. Spent the next forever minutes pushing the pendulum back and forth. The gears remained locked. Then I resorted to desperate measures. After gently returning the clock to its shelf, I got on my hands and my knees and I prayed. I knew this was a serious matter. None of those prayers I memorized at school would do, none of them. I begged God to fix the clock before my parents came home. He must have had a sense of humor that evening and decided to answer this non-line saving petition from a kid. After at least half an hour of promising to reform my life, to return the stolen pencil, to do more chores, to eat less candy, I heard the clock chime. first urgent prayer answered. As an adult, I'd like to say I convinced myself that the nudging of the hands and manually pushing the pendulum back and forth got the gears working. It was only that my childhood impatience made my blind to their slow movement. But I haven't convinced myself, not completely. This is coming from an engineer's daughter. Does this start a prayer life? No way. I still eat lots of sweets and complain when I have to clean my apartment. Beyond complete understanding, the cure of the clock made a definite impression.
Yay! Oh, I love it. I love it. That's a beautiful short story. Gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Tell me.
And
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, no, basically this was something that I keep on remembering. And actually as my fellow readers that are watching this will just explore as they read this essay, that it led to some fantastic discoveries throughout my life that I'm still learning and uncovering. So he works in mysterious ways, absolutely, with always a sense of humor.
Amen. And we never know quite where that's coming from. No, we never, knows better than us. Tell me, Alex, how you are the one who started this open mic night in the dark days of COVID, and how did you arrive there through the New York Writers Union and then the open mic, and how did you get involved with that association?
National Writers Union was whispered in my ear by my professor in my senior year at Fairfield University. Mm-hmm. He was a very strong supporter of it. As a college student, I couldn't afford the membership fees, but I always had that application crinkled up in my book bag, carried it around, and when I had enough money to pay, I did become a member. And I just learned so much. And it's not even that, just a sense of community. We've talked about this at the beginning, how to have that core of people that you feel comfortable with, that challenge you. That's also an important thing, because you can have a lot of, I've been for the writers groups that they're very talented, very lovely people, but everyone says that, oh, you know, that was great work, and they don't push you further. The writers I've met here, I've been fortunate enough that they challenge me, and I've grown through that. Better than some courses you need, but this real experience of working with writers that a lot of them are working, you know, as writing is a big part of their income. As little as that it is, they do make it work.
Tell me, when you started this group during COVID, did you think that it would have such an amazing effect? Did you ever think that we'd get an anthology out of it? What were your thoughts?
Oh my God. But I thought, I mean, we were all thinking how, number one, this came from the Muhlenberg Library open mics that we did on a monthly basis. And I didn't know how we were going to transition that special experience into an online platform. We were still experimenting. Can you hear me? Do I have the camera right? No, we were still fighting with that, much less the nerves of trying
hello, are you there?
Exactly, all of that, right? And you know, you're still nervous, even though it's a small group. You're nervous of reading your work. And so it's a matter of trying to get people feeling connected, even though we're not in the same room and we have all these distractions at our home. It's a matter of trying to give them that environment where their family screaming in the background, whatever it is, disappears. I don't know if we could do that, but we were able to do that.
Yes, we were. Out of one of the world's history's worst time ever so far. So you brought a lot of brightness. That brought a lot of brightness into my life and inspired me, and certainly brought a light. I can't imagine what I would do if that wasn't there. I'm not in New York, so I got to be in New York with my brethren, the people I know, with my other poets. So tell me, Alex, what I want you to talk about is the New York Writers Union. How do people become a member?
Very simple. We reach out so many different ways, but on Facebook, if you just look for the National Writers Union, We'll find a Facebook page that talks about our activities, but not even just our activities. Talk about things that are important to writers. For instance, the PRO Act of trying to organize collective bargaining rights for writers. Freelance isn't free is another huge campaign that we're working on. You'll be hearing those things. Twitter, Pay the Writer is our handle there. And of course, the website, nwu.org.
And the memberships are not that terribly expensive. People don't
They're
have
on a
to.
sliding scale.
They're very,
on a
very,
sliding
yeah.
scale.
So you don't
They
have
are.
to worry about that. Tell me, what is the tip you have for writers beginning?
For young writers, I have to say, don't be scared of the word no. You're going to hear it a lot. And you're going to hear people that say you don't have the talent. You have to know it, that it's there, and that's what you're being told to do. And when you start your career, yes, you have your rent to pay, your student loans, perhaps you have to have your family with some things, and you're going to have those jobs that are just paying those bills.
Yeah.
But always make a point to work on your writing, ideally every day, at least once a week. Join a group like ours, and there's many groups. I mean, each one has its own dynamics, but it's important to keep on writing it, because then you're going to grow. Because you're not going to be. One of the things too that just a quick tip that I had to learn is your writing is not going to appeal to everybody, but it's going to be it's going to have a very special place to a person who needs it, and you're going to grow that. You're going to grow those readers. It takes time though, so be patient with yourself.
Oh, good advice. Now, the last thing, how do my viewers and readers get a hold of you?
The best way to get hold of me is when you go on to nwu.org. I'm lucky to be one of the co-chairs of the New York chapter. You drop down to the New York chapter and you'll find my email address and you'll find my phone number, and you don't even have to talk to me about NWU. I'll be happy to talk with anyone about my work. If any message that I share with you, any little story I share with you resonates with you, I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, great. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing today with me and all your viewers. It looks like a gorgeous day there in Bridgeport.
It is a gorgeous day.
The sky is blue, the grass is green, and there's some beautiful orange flowers behind you in the vines. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I just want you to have a great day and to thank you very, very much for spending some time with us and reading with us. And if you want to hear more about Alex or read more about Alex, please pick up the anthology and all her work will be there.
Absolutely. Or come to Bridgeport.
Or come to Bridgeport.
With you. Take care.
See you soon. Bye. Let me pause recording.